Alright guys, this video is going to be a little boring, but screw it, we're here to make money. 4,000 shares on QS. I'm going to give you my synopsis, discuss some technical analysis, some catalysts that may be occurring before the end of the year, and why I decided to enter this trade altogether. Stay tuned, and if you like the video, subscribe and like for more content. So let's get into it. Alright, so let's take a dive into QS. Before we get into the chart, let's talk about some catalysts, things we might expect within the next couple of months. Starting with what's happening next week. The IAA Mobility 2025, which is going to be held by the VW Group, and it's going to be them discussing the full range of their technological innovations. Now, why this is important? Because on Wednesday, they're hosting a technology day where they're going to have high-profile representatives talk about platform and components, the battery revolution, and energy full circle. How do you have a technology day and not talk about solid-state batteries? Would be insane. So I'm expecting, because they had close collaboration with QS, we're going to hear a lot about commercialization, possible timelines, and where their engagements with QS is leading to. It's very important they talk about this, because you can't hold a day like this and not talk about solid-state batteries. If they just talk about conventional lithium-ion batteries, nobody's going to care. It's not going to make any headlines. It's just boring news. We need to hear about solid state. That's the next step. And if it's a revolution / evolution, then it has to be regarding solid state battery. So this could be a catalyst going to next week and could potentially spark the next rally in QS. Going forward, looking at the Q2 shareholder letter, we want to talk about Cobra is a 25x in terms of heat treatment speed from Raptor. This was huge. It's a big step in commercialization. Cobra is basically the key that unlocks them to commercialize. Now we want to talk about a global development agreement they had with a major global automotive OEM, meaning that they are now de-risking from just being a customer of PowerCo / Volkswagen, and they're branching out to other major OEMs, which is a huge de-risking moment and also validates and strengthens their credibility as a company in general. You're not going to sign a JDA with other OEMs if you can't scale. Clearly they figured out how to scale and they're able to sign these agreements, and once we do get the announcement of who that OEM is, it's going to act as another catalyst for the stock. Also scrolling up, we could see that PowerCo announced an additional $131 million for QS for the next 2 years. Okay, so now let's talk about a couple of catalysts that we expect to happen within now going to the end of the year. I expect Cobra to be done with the upstream / downstream processes. We're going to see B1 samples shipped. Those B1 samples are going to be shipped and then provided to the launch customer. Once those samples are sent, they're going to be put into a vehicle, and obviously we're going to figure out who that launch customer is within next year or even this year. We'll see what happens. So you got the B1 samples, the launch customer, them meeting their technical milestone with PowerCo, which will enable them to receive $130 million from their previous agreement. This 131 is a different amount of money that they'll be receiving within the next 2 years. And then the next catalyst I see is basically who that JDA is going to be with. I think it might be with Ford, considering the collaborations Ford has with VW, but we'll see. It'd be amazing if it was Tesla, but we'll just have to wait and see. As far as the launch customer goes, I really hope it's Ferrari, or if it was Porsche, that'd be awesome. Those are two companies I could see right now that are high profile, and they could provide a low volume for hypercars or some units that they do produce, and those would make headline news in an automotive company. If they put a solid state battery in a SUV or something boring, it might get overlooked. Now you put it into a Ferrari, you put it into a huge profile vehicle, it's gonna get a lot of heads and attention, which is what you want with a revolutionary battery, the next step. That said, looking at the roadmap, basically we see Cobra is now in the baseline for separated production. We also want to see them do higher volume QSE, B1 samples, and then install the higher volume production equipment, followed by expanding commercial engagements. Now, if you followed QS for a long time now, you would know anytime they put up these goals, they hit a majority of all of them. And I expect all these to be hit as we're getting closer to the end of the year, which could spark multiple rallies for the stock price. Alright, so let's take a look at the chart and draw out where we see the stock price going to. Starting with the consolidation we're seeing, we're currently in a pendant, so I'm going to draw our resistance and our support lines. Now that we have it mapped out, we saw a first bounce here, second bounce here, and a third bounce over here, and we're starting to see resistance build up on this level here. This is important to map out because we're getting close to a breakout zone. After consolidation, we get a major move, and as we are seeing volume start to taper off during this consolidation, the market is going to begin to price in a move. The first key level I want to draw out is going to be that 750 level. This is where we saw our first major breakout point. Also, we got a huge rejection over there, and we're starting to see bounces off of the 750 level as well. So staying above 750 is very important for continuation to the upside. I believe a close below 750 is not going to be good for short term. Now the next key level I'm going to draw is going to be that 630 level, and as you guys can see, it was also our previous rejection followed by where we saw support on it as well. So if we do close below the 750 level, I think that next level of support is going to be testing that 630 level. Now if we do manage to break above, the first level of resistance I see is going to be that 970 level, and then honestly anything above this, it's just going to be volatile towards that $15 level. So if we start to see volume, we can retest that 970 level. And if there's really good news, such as the JDA name, we'll probably see a retest on that $15 level. So the main thing we want to see as we approach this breakout zone is going to be volume. I'm looking for anything above 20 million to give me a sense of direction. Volume around 8 to 9 million is really still consolidation for me. To get a strong sense of where the market wants QS to go, I want to see 20 million volume when we get a breakout. So there you go. If you're just here for the TA, we either retest this 971, begin to trade and consolidate for a little bit longer around this level, or we close under this 750, we start to trade around this level here, or we get really good news and it's a retest on that $15 level. Overall, long term is really good to hold on to, but if you are trading for the short term, there are still plenty of opportunities to make money here. And that's going to conclude my analysis for QS.